Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well on this beautiful Wednesday, Fed Fed decision day.
Yeah.
I'm Troy. This is my mentor and friend and leader of the pack, Mr. Dan Sheridan. How you doing this morning, Dan?
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. And we're excited. Troy is at the swimming capital of the world, Myrtle Beach. We're
Yes.
excited about that. He'll be
Yep.
leading on the surf, boogie boarding at
That's right.
within the hour. So if anybody would like,
If
will it
anybody
be
wants to see
live?
it,
Will it be beach
anybody.
cam? You ever see that?
Yep.
I used to like
Oh yeah, those
go.
live cams.
Yeah, there was a store, I think it called Hollister in Chicago. You ever hear of that?
Mm-hmm.
Hollister. And it was kind of these yuppie beach or nice clothes and all that. I would go in just to sit there in the chair and watch the beach cam of the surfers and Huntington Beach. And the lady's like, "Can I help you?" I go, "No, I'm fine. I'm
No,
watching the
we're good.
surfers. I'm
Do you have any
really good right
coffee?
now." Yeah, do you have
Do you
any
have any
coffee? I'm just watching while Rose is shopping. So, anyways,
I think at this point, if I went to Hollister, they would, someone call the police. They
they were
wouldn't,
close. They were
yeah,
close. Yeah,
that's
sir,
right.
you've watched the surf for a half hour. You want to go home?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, speaking of beautiful scenery,
Yes.
Every morning at 8:45 Eastern, option Omega's got your back. Troy's dreaming big like LeBron, mass backtesting like a daddy Mac. Dan's 30 years got our way, trading life and markets every day. Option Omega, you're traded home, where every move makes you feel less alone.
as always, beautiful. Reminds me of the beach every time I see it. Uh, so yes, I am at Myrtle Beach, the Gatlinburg of the sea. I'm being unfair to myself a little bit. My wife chose a wonderful place, a little bit away from Myrtle Beach. So we're in Garden City, Myrtle's
Hmm,
Inlet. For those who don't
nice.
try to find me, we're leaving soon.
Don't try
Uh,
to find me.
but shout out real quick. This is a family show, and I know
Yeah.
my kids are not at school today, so they're obviously watching the OO show live. So
Why wouldn't
sh-
they?
why
Yeah.
wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Shout out to Aubrey. Love you, Aubrey. Shout out No. Love you, No. Shout out KK. Love you, No. Shout out Mommy. Love you, Mommy. So Dan knows my kids
Yeah.
and
Very.
prays for and knows me, and so therefore
Yes.
prays for my wife every day.
Yeah.
So,
Every day. Every day.
but they're having fun, I'm sure.
Now, how many
Watching
minutes
Daddy.
are you guys from the beach?
We're on the beach.
Oh,
We're on the
you're
beach.
I mean, till you get to Myrtle. Are you like
Oh,
10?
to uh, that I don't know. I mean, we're on the beach. You can see Myrtle at night down the beach.
But you don't get the craziness, which is nice.
Unfortunately, you don't get the craziness. The
Yeah.
craziness, some would argue, goes where we go. We are the
Oh,
craziness,
we
but
we are
that's
the crazy.
that's another. But I
Uh,
thought we'd take this time real quick on Fed Day to talk about something very important on the Zero to Your Rundown, which is best beaches. Uh, Dan, I mean, you are from Chicago.
yes,
I'm from landlocked Tennessee, so we're obviously going to be experts in this.
of
But
course. Yeah.
Dan, what's the best beach that you've been to?
Yeah, and I'm not a good, you got to understand for perspective, grow up on Lake Michigan in Chicago, and people say, Dan, you have beautiful Lake Michigan there. I think in my whole life, I've swam in there twice. It's like, it better just be a postcard. You can't really swim in it. It's too cold all year. But in
Yeah.
terms of beaches, now unfortunately, I'm not a beach expert, so I would say Huntington Beach, just because I would go there for seminars, and it's just kind of a neat little community, right? It seems very casual. It's not like where Kobe Bryant lived a couple over in Newport. Huntington's like your normal guy. The surfers kind of hang out, get a cup of coffee. The biggest conversation by the coffee place is, "Hey, how's the surf today?" I like that vibe, Beach Boys kind of thing. It's nice. I've never been to the North Carolina beaches. I've been to like Folly Beach, or I will tell you this: we've gone for 20 years. When I was a kid growing up, we did the same vacation every year. It was go to Miami Beach before it became what it is. We'd get a little dinky hotel by the ocean, and it was beautiful.
You like Miami Beach, Miami?
Yeah, Miami Beach,
You
Miami.
guys would go to Miami every year?
20 years in a row. Now, this is before wild. We didn't go to, there was no South Beach. This was like a lot of dinky hotels on the ocean. You'd go there, play your shuffleboard and do that. And now I'm paying for it. As you get older, you go to a skin doctor every 4, 5, 6 months. And he's like, why did you lay out for 8 hours a day? Or why were you outside? But I would say, I hear North Carolina beaches are really good, but I like Huntington Beach. I like Folly Beach in South Carolina. How about you, Troy?
Those are great spots. I will say, side note about the skin doctor thing. One thing I've noticed is what do you call it when you like stain a table? You build a table, you build something. I don't.
You're asking the wrong person. You're asking the right. I don't know what that's called.
You get a deck put on, so you got to stain the deck, right?
Yeah.
I will say, being here, there are a lot of maybe too many coats on some of these decks walking around. That
really?
Makes sense.
Well, it does make sense. I got you.
A lot of very, very tan, very tan people. So
wow.
I will say Folly Beach. So here's the thing: I've never been a beach person.
Yeah.
But as I get older, I enjoy them because we go during the cold weather.
Yeah.
So I don't like being in 95-degree weather.
Sure.
That's not my thing.
Yeah,
but
it's not the most...
I like Folly Beach because Charleston, proximity. I love Charleston.
Right, gives you something else to do, and you got
gives you something.
Yeah.
I'll say the beaches in the Keys. There's not many, but there's some spots in the Keys. They're beautiful. South Beach is its own experience.
Now, when you say the Keys, that's the Jimmy Buffett area. Is that what he always does?
That's right. Yeah, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's always 5 o'clock somewhere.
Okay, that's.
And then I don't remember when I was in Chicago. Shout out Zom and G Money and this conference I went to last year.
I love the name.
I drove around. I had never been to California, so I drove around and I randomly found this beach, and it's like cliffs, and it looks like a movie, like out of Greece. It's just insanely beautiful.
Yeah.
And these kids are just there after school. You can tell they're just chilling after school.
Yeah.
Now, one thing people told me, and I did not take them seriously until I encountered it, the water on California's coast is insane. The West Coast water, it's so cold. Like, I really don't understand how people
That is true compared to like
You know.
Florida or something.
Yeah, I mean, but it's very beautiful. But I mean, this is what I grew up with. This is what we love. This type of, you want a picture. When you have a picture of a beach, you want more Ferris wheel than you do beach.
That's
that's the,
That's right.
That's
is that picture Lake Michigan with the fish and the bottles?
That's I've tried to combine my beach, Myrtle, and then Lake Michigan. So we did pretty good. But anyway, we could talk about beaches all day. Let's keep going. Today is Jpow Day.
I love the picture.
Oh yeah, those are his two modes.
Those are great. Those are great.
Yeah,
great picture.
What do you think's happening? What do you think's going to happen today? Is anything going to happen today?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's pretty consensus that he's not going to do anything as far as with the interest rates. He doesn't have a history of doing anything wild. He's kind of John Wayne-ish.
Yeah.
We're going to stay this course. We're going to do it. He's not scared of Trump. He's not scared of anything. I think the only thing that's going to be entertaining could be the press conference that comes out a half hour after. If there's ever something where, we, as parents, you teach your kids, use the right words, be careful what you say. If there's ever something where if he says the wrong words, the market's like, we'll drop this thing or we'll raise it 100 points. You say the wrong word, right, that we don't want to hear. So I think all eyes will be on the press conference to see if he, but you got to think, this has got to be choreographed, right? He's going to be very careful what he says. I don't expect too much today, but you never know. I think tomorrow could be the big, what do they do that at a firecracker show? The last thing, that's hurrah. Where they say the best, the last hurrah. Yeah. You might get a little bit something at the end, but yes, if he did something crazy, like, lowered it a half point or lowered it a quarter or anything, that could get the market going because he's not expected to do anything. So we'll be all, I don't think much. And here's the other thing, Troy, you wonder, if you look at the last week, forget the Fed for a second. What if we didn't have the Fed today? The market's been moving almost 100-point ranges every day in SPX. So it's like, I don't, with or without them, I think the market is volatile right now. And it's still, I think it's calming down. To me, the big thing is when you look at VIX, right? VIX was actually cheap yesterday. I was thinking, but for only, historically, like if you look at last year, the 12-month general range would be 12 to 21. And, you dip like August 5th and we dipped up. But when you look at last week, Tuesday, VIX hit an intraday high of 29. And yesterday we were in the 20s. So right now, because we're still getting movement, 20 was pretty cheap. Which you normally wouldn't say. And then we almost popped up 2 points yesterday just because I think it was cheap. But yeah, it's still an interesting market with or without them. I don't know how much, I think it'll add, it's adding a few more logs to the fire. That's about it. Wouldn't you say? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. First off, Rusty's in the chat saying Slay, Head Beach, County Kerry, Ireland.
I was
all right, bud. Okay, bud. If we're going to talk about Ireland,
can we digress just for a second? Just for
Please.
A second. We went, in search of finding, relatives. One year we did Italy, where my wife's family, Sicily, and then mine, Ireland. But I'll tell you what, when we stayed at a Airbnb in Sligo, or however you say it, Ireland, and you walk 3 blocks to the beach and you have this rugged beach with the rocks, not that you can swim in it, right? Don't get me wrong, right? It's cold, but it's beautiful. It's absolutely this rugged, if you like that. Now, it's weird in Ireland. It's weird. You go to the beach and I'm wearing a coat and a sweatshirt, right? But it's beautiful. You could sit out there, read a book for 2 days. It's beautiful.
My understanding is that's how Portland is too, or Maine, or it's not Maine, sorry. Well, yes, Maine, but also Oregon.
Oh, really? Pretty beautiful, rugged.
Beautiful, rugged, but it's not. You're not like sun tanning on the beach.
No, you're not bringing. There's no need for suntan oil or big towels. You're just out there maybe with some hot chocolate and a book.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Anyway, my thoughts on the Fed are just I don't think he's going to your point, I don't think he's going to say anything crazy. I think he's going to try to get to the airport and get back to the car as soon as he can.
Absolutely.
I don't think the market. I don't think the market is in a mood right now to care much about what he said. He obviously can make it care really fast.
Yeah. Yes.
But I don't think he. I agree with you completely. I think the announcement at 2 is a non-event in my mind. Yes. And then 2:30, when people start asking him questions like, "Are tariffs destroying America?"
That's right. Real questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Are we about to go into a depression because of the trade war? Those type of questions. It really dissipates. And he does have a history. So he is like John Wayne, but I would say he's like John Wayne in a weird way, to where sometimes he's like, it stay the course sometimes isn't what they want to hear. So he does always say stay the course.
That's
It
a good
just,
point.
but he does sometimes they don't want to hear that.
Well, yes, and if he avoids the question, because I forgot he is going to be getting questions, and if he avoids them and says some crazy answer, you know, the S&Ps will go crazy while he's speaking. Yeah,
I'm just thankful I've reached a point in my shout out option omega automated trading. I'm just
yeah,
thankful I reached out a point in my career where I'm not going to pull the truck over it too, as the kids are crying in the back, and just
that's
be
right.
like, "Hey, Daddy's got to watch the press conference." Uh,
Oh, that's the
I'm
nice.
now
Yeah,
I'm
that's the
nice.
nice
I'm
thing
thankful.
about when you think of bots or automated trading, I should say. That's the wonderful thing because you got the guardrails on, you have some risk management, but it's going to stay the course. And this type of market can unfringe your normal retail, any retail trader, because it's very emotional. And I think this is a great market for automated trading as long as you have good guardrails and risk
It's all about
management. And
guardrails.
yeah, yeah,
Speaking of risk management and guardrails, let's
yeah.
talk about. Uh, I'm going to show a trade off that I talked about yesterday, a double calendar, and it's a 923. So for those who are new to trading, uh, well, there's going to be a lot in this. There's no way if you're new to trading you're going to understand this. But if you're newer to options trading, we're going to sell two 9-day contracts of different strikes, and we're going to buy 23-day contracts of that same strike. And we're going to do it in the Qs, QQQ, which represents the NASDAQ. So, Dan, would you be up for talking about the mechanics of a 923, what you're doing, and the Greeks that go along with it?
I would love to.
Okay.
Yeah. All
I
right.
got your screen.
Yeah, I already started my doodling. So,
Love it.
folks, when you're talking the world of double calendars, and what a double calendar is simply a mixed month spread. In this case, you're buying April 11th, selling March 28th. So you're selling March 28th, that expires, that would be on a Friday and 9 days from now. And your April 11th is 23 days out. So 14 days past your shorts. And you have a calendar, as you can see here, I have one at the 488 strike and one at the 460 strike, and we're currently at 476. The purple graph is a picture of the graph today. The blue is in 9 days at the expiration of the shorts. A double calendar is always a debit transaction. So in this case, it says $6.74. So you pay $674. That is your risk. I think two important things, or at least things that come to my mind when I think of double calendars. Number one, why do we do it? I usually, and most people would do these with maybe 2 to 9 days to expiration. So you're doing them maybe, not that you can't do them with a little bit longer out, but you do them shorter term expiration. You get pretty good theta, time decay, because you're selling a 9-day option. Your long options are more your hedges, but because you're doing a double calendar, you have more room to your expiration break evens here. So as long as we're, between the kind of the goalposts there, 450 and maybe 495 here, the trade is pretty good. It percolates like a good cup of Folgers coffee, right? And it's a good trade. But then you have, and Troy has with the backtesting guardrails that, you hear about remember, danger Will Robinson. As we start going beyond the short strikes, that's when you have to start having these, like in options omega, these guardrails that's where problems can occur if we wander too far past the short strikes. These trades work incredibly well because, like in this instance, and what Troy's going to go over, you're doing a 20 delta call and a 20 delta put. What does that mean? In common English, you got a lot of room, right? In options parlance, a 20 delta means there's only a 20% probability that will go through your short strikes in the 9 days of this trade. So I think the double calendars are a very effective trade. Now, one thing I will mention, I mean, two things can affect a double calendar or any range bound trade: price and volatility. So generally, you would like, as an overall theme, I'd rather do these in low vol environment, right? And this is kind of for people who have withdrawals, people in the 0-day or any community that do iron condors or strategies, credit spreads. They love the high volatility environment, and they say, Dan, I'm so unhappy when the VIX is very low, 12, 13, or 14. There's nothing to do. There is, my friend, right? Double calendars have the same foundation of an iron condor, an out of the money call and put, a short strangle. So in the volatilities are low, that's historically when you can do some of these type of strategies. But on the other hand, and this is the commercial with the Italian guy speaking out of both sides of the mouth. How you doing? No, how you doing? On the other hand, if you look at who has been the MVP over the last, 4 or 5 weeks, long Vega strategies like double calendars have worked pretty well because the volatilities have stayed up, right? They've stayed up. And so in a high vol environment, the difference is you're getting a lot more room towards your break evens. Whereas if the volatilities were lower, you're not getting as much room. So it's a great strategy, especially a great strategy if you understand it. So, but I think some of these, what do you call it? Guidepost? No, what do we call them? What do you call them? The risk management
guardrails.
Guardrail. I love that. Some of the guardrails that Troy is going to be putting on this back testing are crucial. And it's just basically saying, hey, it's protecting you from the problems with a double calendar, which is if it moves too far outside the short strikes, you can get more than a bloody nose. And so he's going to protect you against them. And our biggest enemy, remember, who's our biggest enemy in trading? Ourselves, right? Right? And so,
yeah.
Troy, without further ado.
Yeah, no, that's a great kind of explanation.
One last thing. Generally with these, the last thing is generally you want to be, I learned this early on at the CBOE. You want to be, generally, if you're long Vega, you want to be long Delta a little bit. Generally. If you're short Vega, you want to be short Delta. Why? Remember, you only have 2 major risks with these trades, price and vol. So you kind of want to have a little offsetting the yin and the yang. If you're long Vega, that means if in your long Delta, if the market goes up, theoretically you could lose some from volatility because VIX will come down, but you'll make a few shekels from your deltas being long, and vice versa. If the market goes down, volatility goes up. Okay, that's good for a double calendar in most situations, not all. So you'll make money and then you'll lose a little bit with the long Delta. So generally, long Delta, long Vega is kind of what you want to do. Anyways.
No, that's great.
Go. Yeah.
So to the point, let me show you this test. And 2 caveats. As he said, we're doing it in queues just to show you that like a smaller account can trade this stuff still. You don't have to have, well, I know at some of the brokers now you can't really do a DC really unless you've got a couple, I think maybe even, I don't know what their rule is, maybe 25,000, but I've heard stories of suddenly people trying to open DCs. The margin's 100,000. You don't have that problem on queues. So this is at that 923, but there's 2 mechanisms in place. There's one mechanism to put it on and one to get it off, and both address what Dan was talking about. So it's a 20 delta, 923, and this is open anytime during the day when we have moved up 0.6%. So what is that doing? Well, straight away what that's doing is you should, on a day when we're up 0.6%, have some vol reduction, right? And so by the time you put that on, you're going to have some vol reduction. Now, another way you could test this is to do it intraday VIX going down. You could definitely play it that way as well. But for this purpose, this is what we're doing. And you put it on at 923, and you you put it on. It's a 923. You put it on anytime during the day. Like I said, when it's up 6%. Now, when do you get out? You get out either when the call or the put is tested. And I will say this. I will say that you can definitely have a better result than what this test is. I'm being really, really conservative when I do that. I'm just showing the idea. And notice that I'm doing one contract. We were talking about this before the show. This is not a great test. This is a test that can be great. And we love giving you tests that can be great. So you have to do some work in it if you're in option omega. But this is a test that can be great. And I'll give you some hints. There's probably a better entry point than just men up 6.6%. You might want to look at vol reduction as Dan's point. You might also want to test different, the call tested and put tested. You might want to not be that stringent. You might want to give it a little more grace, let it go past a little bit, right? There's a lot of different things you can do to improve this test, but the general idea makes sense, right? When vol's going down, we're going to put on this longer dated DC. It's going to give us some more theta, right, Dan? Because the way that is structured, you're getting a lot more theta on that 9-day contract than you are paying on that 23-day contract.
That's right. Yeah.
And so you might have a chance, and you could test this, to take some profit targets. I'm not taking any profit. You might get a chance to take profit on this because theta's on your side the first couple days with this. And so this is a test that's interesting to me because I think what's about to happen in the market, I could be completely wrong, and I'm not a financial advisor. Every time we have a day like this, these Fed days in a high vol environment, it's another one bites the dust. It's another vol event that's past us. And these are logs in the fire. And once these logs burn out, vol reverts. So this is a type of trade where you might play some of that reversion, but hopefully it stays sticky. So, Dan, any final thoughts about that?
Yeah, I was going to, Troy, do you want to address maybe like in the entry criteria, you mentioned allocate 100% of portfolio. What was your thinking in that?
Well, no. So good catch. If you notice, it says allocate 100% portfolio, but then right underneath it, up to one contract.
Oh no, that's right. Yeah.
So
Matt was telling me that. Yeah, that's right.
I'm only doing one contract at a time just to test it. So
okay.
To your point, if you said, what's your logic of doing 100% portfolio? I would say I have done a lot of drugs. I'm drinking a lot right now. I'm on a bender. Lots of different reasons.
Yeah. Troy, do we have a minute if we come back to the think or swim for a second?
Please. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So if you come back. So folks, a couple just points I wanted to bring on. In reality, I look at it when you have a double calendar on, and again, the back testing will really precision how you do these things. But as an overall premise, like if I were to do this 923 today, kind of my thinking is this. If I'm looking at, you say, well, am I interested in how the market might move in the next 9 days? No, I'm interested, at least however your back testing is, how many days do you expect to be in maybe a double calendar or something? Sometimes for me, I'll use this 30% rule where whatever the duration, if a trade is 10 days, I'm looking at being at about 3 days. If it's a positive theta trade, if it's 20 days, maybe 6 days. Doesn't always work, but that's just from doing it a bit, that seems to work. So if I'm in this trade, I'm looking at when you look at a 2-day expected move in Qs is 10 points. Well, what if I stayed in it the whole 9 days? The whole 9 days here is 17 points. Well, and if I stayed in this till expiration, we can move a lot further. So sometimes if you look here, here's right here, March 19th. If I go to March, watch the purple line. If I go March 20th, which would be tomorrow, then you go Friday. And then if we go to, here's Monday. So here's Monday. You can see how that purple line really goes up. So depending on your back testing, a lot of these you can get out quicker, right? Like if it's a 4-day double calendar, sometimes you could get out at 2 days. Depends what you're willing to take, and that goes with your guardrails. There's nothing wrong with going for 40% if you have, with guardrails. But sometimes people may go, hey, I'm going to be in a trade only a couple days, look for 10 to 15% or more, then your guardrails would have to move in. So a lot of different ways to do this. But remember, the key with a 9-day trade is you're getting a lot of theta, which is positive. The negatives, you got to be careful with the volatility because that can really nail you. Because you're doing a 20 delta, price movement usually isn't going to be the culprit, but it still can be. So anyways, practice the craft, work on the back testing, and trade small when you learn.
That's great advice as always. And for those who are paying attention, he just said something that is I have found in my own trading life to be a very good nugget. And one of the key things that someone like Dan teaches that you don't know until you know. That rule of saying, a third of the time, I'll give you a hint. That will greatly improve a lot of your back tests, especially longer dated ones. If you say, I'm gonna get out by this time or around this time and just exit early if I haven't got the 10% or 15% or 20% target, write that one down and start playing around with that, because that's a really good rule, and you might be very, very pleasantly surprised by what you find with that. So, Philip, you had a great question about adjusting the short legs in after a big vol event. That would be diagonalizing the trade. And we will talk more about double diagonals because there's a lot of meat there too. They have different problems. They've got different problems, but they've got different good things too. So with that being said, I need to get back to boogie boarding.
That's
and,
right. Get pictures.
Oh yeah.
Plenty of pictures.
Wait for this new intro song. You're going to love it. Anyway. All right, guys. I hope you guys stay safe today with the FOMC, and don't let Jpow hurt you. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Dan, have a great day.
Thanks, Troy. Have a good day at the beach with the kids. We'll